Hello, welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. Thank you all for being here.
Cheers, all.
Cheers. Pat, how are you doing today? Be honest.
I apologize in advance if you guys can't understand me. I sort of have a cold, but it's I'm all right.
Just keep pounding those shots.
Nothing like shots to cure a cold. So
kill the fever.
Mine will be baby shots today. Baby shots.
Don't give away your secrets.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm all right. Getting ready for the holidays. I'm excited that I have a lot of family coming in town, which is going to be really fun. On the 19th, I've got my brother, his wife, their 2 kids who haven't seen my husband since before COVID. And my brother hasn't seen my husband since before COVID. Like, it's been a long time since we've all been together. So,
very so you waited, you heard it was over, and you're like,
no, yeah, COVID's over. And so now we're just going to jet across the country back and forth, masks off. The last time we say again,
let's do this.
Let's do this. Let it rip. Live your best life. Live your best life. I see a few people asking do you think it's COVID? But I think you said you had tested a couple times, right?
Yeah, it's not COVID, but it's a sore throat, and I don't know. Yeah, that's about it. I've just had the annoying. I don't have a fever or anything like that. I just had the annoying symptoms. That's
yeah, all. I know. I was really sick a few weeks ago. Had a fever, chills, everything, and I was like, oh no, I think it finally got me, but it didn't. I mean, I tested probably 4 or 5 times, and it was just a regular cold. But it's just so weird to get that now because. Right. We're all just so you're seeing like everything spike, and yeah.
I'm truly careful around almost everybody. My coworker is probably who I got it from, to be honest.
Yeah. Those Tony Robbins sessions, those mega spreaders. Well, so what do you think? I mean, should we get to it so we make sure we get everything in today?
Oh, I had something positive to report.
Oh, did I not ask you how you are?
I think you started with that.
I didn't give you an entree.
I went like all men. I started complaining about how my miserable symptoms are, and I'm going to die because I've got a cold.
That's not
the end. True. This is it, Lila. Record this. Send it to my family.
Tell me, you have something good to report.
Yeah, my faith in humanity was restored. So, yeah, man flu. That's right. I lost my wallet 2 days ago, and somebody found it and turned it into the bank where I bank at in town with my cash. I had over $200 in cash in it, and they turned it in with cash.
Wait, you're a socialist and you had $200 of cash?
I mean, it was half my paycheck.
I'm joking. I'm totally joking. That is an amazing testament to at least one person's honesty and integrity, right? I mean, I don't know if it's restored my faith in all of humanity, but that one person.
There are a handful of good people, and one of them, I hit the lottery.
You did, because maybe that's pretty amazing. Because most people would probably not get a wallet back with cash in it, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's a happy thought. All right. Oh, by the way, Pat has man flu. We already did that. We're going to be a little like out of sync today. All right. So what do you want to do? Should we head over to our caption contest and see who our lucky winner was? We had one last week. I got to send out the first shot glass, the Punch Up Pod shot glass was sent to our lucky winner last week, Erasmo. And this week we have a new winner, but we do have a couple ones. We have a ton of really good ones.
Let's show and this is where we beef on this one. I'm going to call it a GIF. Let's show the GIF that we had to caption.
Love being wrong. Oh my God, it's so gross. Why does he do that?
And to explain the history of this for my
Ugh,
PhD, I made that thing right there, that disgusting albatross of a whatever you wanna call it.
the deep fake.
Yeah, so I made that and I just put some dumb little line on it for my parody account. Took me about 30 seconds to do, and then the media ran Trump retweeted it, which is pretty cool. Like,
So this was a couple of years ago,
president.
obviously.
Yeah, he was running for president against Biden, and he retweeted that. And all the, mainstream media, uh, CNN, MSNBC, David Frum wrote an article about it,
Oh my
and
God, all the best
they de
people.
they declared it the first use of deep fake technology by a presidential candidate.
That's
And so
crazy.
to turn on TV every night, I mean, that night, the next day when I saw all this stuff and see people on MSNBC talking about deep fake technology, knowing no real person could look at that and think, "Oh, this is some effort to fool people,"
Right, right.
like
Yeah,
just a stupid tweet. And but the media presented it to the public like this is a real thing. They didn't show it because if they showed it, it would give up the whole game that there was no
right.
deep fake technology.
Right, right. So
But
silly. I
anyway,
know,
that's
but
the history.
because Trump touched it, Trump retweeted it, and so it became like the worst
Yeah.
thing ever, scary technology.
Yeah, and,
Um,
I do need to add, as soon as Trump retweeted it, I changed my handle to Trump and Biden are rapey.
Excellent. And
So
then did you
that's
screenshot Trump's account
yeah,
retweeting
it's
yours?
all it's
Really
still
good.
up.
Yeah.
You can still find it.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I like it. Yes, they certainly are. So yeah, so that was the caption, right? The caption contest was for that GIF. I'm gonna go ahead and call it what the inventor of the GIF
I
calls it.
know, he's wrong.
I know he's wrong. So here was one response that we thought was pretty funny. Joe Biden demonstrates analingus, which I am assuming is because he's such an asshole. That's my assumption, right? Iconoclast, Professor DNA. That was very funny. Another response, and I like this one. Sorry, I hate when it does that. Stretching the stitches because he's just wearing the mask. He's taking the Trump, or I guess it would be like Trump is underneath him because they honestly are so similar. So that was also a really good one. And I mean, there were so many good ones. I hate doing it this way, but anyway, and then our final, the winner of the shot glass for this week is
Drum roll.
Sosh
Bill.
Bill. The taste of railroad worker union tears. And he also
Accurate.
responded with a GIF. So we will reach out to our winner who will be receiving this lovely shot glass, Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat shot glass. Thank you all for responding and for your funny captions. We love getting them and reading them. Maybe we'll have to put a contest out a little earlier so we can get some more. I think we didn't remember until all of a sudden yesterday. We're like, oh my God, we got to get it out there.
Whoops.
So thank you to everyone who participated. That's really fun for us. And I will send that out to you, or Pat will, this week. So thank you.
Lila will.
Yeah, I know.
No.
and congratulations for the big
Good
prize.
stuff.
No, but I love my shot glass. I use it every night. All right, so we got a lot of stuff, and I know we might be on a little bit of borrowed time here before Pat just has to sidle over to his
Buckle
bed.
over and die.
Yeah. So let's see what we got on the. What should we hash it out?
Let's hash it.
I'm just reading some of the things, and then I want to read the hashtags. But Talking Truth says, "Evening, comrades. We're cooking bacon and waffles for dinner while watching. Thank you and welcome."
Excellent.
And I don't. I never know if it's monad born Slippy or a monady born Slippy Lippy. I don't know. I don't want to mispronounce it, but cuddled up with your new puppy. Your blue heeler is so cute. And Daniel's upset that he didn't win and wants us to count the vote. All right. It is definitely rigged. We have got Union Betrayed, Timeline Cleanse, which is a new permanent section of our wheel just to bring us, it goes along with all the shot glasses to bring us a little joy. Putin did it, Twitter files, and triple demic, and lots of shots. Let's spin the wheel.
All right.
Yeah, baby.
All right, Twitter files. Well, this sort of separates some people, even on the left. I was interested to see some of the responses. Mostly people didn't seem overly impressed. I think it is important, though. What was your overall feeling, Pat?
Well, I think we need to explain to people what it is, because some people don't know at all.
Okay.
It's like,
yeah.
No, that's perfect. Go with the thread.
Yeah. You sure?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So a few days ago, on December 2nd, Matt Taibbi writes, "Thread the Twitter files. What you're about to read is the first installment in a series based upon thousands of internal documents obtained by sources at Twitter. The Twitter files tell an incredible story from inside of one of the world's largest and most influential social media platforms. It is a Frankensteinian tale of human-built mechanism grown out of control of its designer. Twitter, in its conception, was a brilliant tool for enabling instant mass communication, making a true real-time global conversation possible for the first time. In an early conception, Twitter more than lived up to its mission statement, giving people the power to create and share ideas and inform instantly without barriers. As time progressed, however, the company was slowly forced to add those barriers. Some of the first tools for controlling speech were designed to combat the likes of spam and financial fraudsters. Slowly, over time, Twitter staff and executives began to find more and more uses for these tools. Outsiders began petitioning the company to manipulate speech as well, first a little, then more often, then constantly. By 2020, requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write to another, more to review from the Biden team. The reply would come back, handled. So that's how it started. I think that was Friday evening. Matt Taibbi does a huge Twitter thread talking about the outside influence of media, politicians, big business to censor or control or sublimate some of the trending topics on Twitter. Is that a good?
Yeah, that's a good summary of the first day, and then there's some new stuff today. But it basically was used by both political parties to suppress speech they don't like, which is especially dangerous when both sides dislike upset workers. So
yeah,
we're not just talking Democrats versus Republicans. We're talking
corporations
the elites against proletariat.
Yeah.
So that's what's at issue here for if you're left or right.
Yeah, and I mean, you think of the first that I was aware of it was with the DNC WikiLeaks dump, which was really suppressed. I mean, I think it was something like 48%. I'm looking. So the Twitter's acting general counsel admitted that they suppressed just under half of all the original tweets with DNC leak as a hashtag.
Yeah,
so
and I was responsible for at least 40,000 of those.
I know. I mean,
we were all over that WikiLeaks, DNC leaks.
Right. And, there was nothing that was shown to be a lie in there. It just shone a real light on Hillary Clinton and John Podesta and so many corporate journalists at MSNBC and CNN and New York Times and The Atlantic, all these places, Washington Post, who were taking direction from the Clinton campaign. which is reprehensible. It also showed how, what they were doing to undermine Bernie. And so as that was coming into light, they started suppressing anything that had hashtag DNC leaks on it, to the tune of about half of them, right, were suppressed.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where the election fuckery really comes into play. When people say the Democrats rigged the elections, they didn't come in and switch votes in the booth that we're aware of, but we know that they did all these tactics that were, we know how much people are propagandized and how vulnerable they are to propaganda. And so to suppress almost half of the tweets on the most used hashtag at the moment, that's substantial, and there was no punishment for it whatsoever.
No.
I mean, they have a right to do what they want as a free business under our current system, but there should be a cost on some level, but there's no real competition out there. So it's like we can't just leave Twitter to go somewhere else that's going to work. There's no place has the audience Twitter does.
Right.
Right.
So they've made this public square that's privately owned and that has enormous influence from the elite people in power. So it's not exactly a public square anymore. The more recent one that, of course, Elon Musk took over, he clearly is favoring the right wing and wants to expose what happened before the 2020 election, where Hunter Biden's laptop story that was broken by the New York Post was lied about, basically, by DNC operatives and all of the media, NPR, CNN, MSNBC, saying that it was Russian disinformation, that it wasn't really a story. And so Twitter just disallowed the story to be posted, even in DMs.
Excuse me. And they use the excuse of, and they latched onto it. And this is revealed in the Twitter files. As a group, they came up with the idea of, we'll classify it as hacked information. So if we just label it hacked information, that's going to be good enough to let us squash the story. And they ran.
Which is crazy, because a lot of information that is published by legacy media, I know, obviously they are finally coming out to support Julian Assange, but it's based on hacked, stolen information. Often journalists do not have to.
Yeah, it's it's whistleblowers, whistleblowers. So what are the rules? You have to, your own organization has to turn in the information, or it's not news.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. Yes. So, but the interesting thing, I think, has really been the response to Matt Taibbi's Twitter revelations. I think there's a part of, I am a big fan of Matt Taibbi's, even if I don't always agree with everything, but I am a big fan of his. I think that the sort of sensational way it was presented did not, the actual information that was presented probably didn't live up to the, it felt a little bit like Rachel Maddow presentation, stay tuned, this crazy thing is going to happen. And I think we all knew that it had been suppressed. Twitter admitted that it had been, or, we all knew that story had been suppressed before the 2020 election. And then I think some of the ones, even the last thing that I read, where somebody from the Biden team writes and says, hey, can you take a look at these? We don't want these out there. And it says handled. I think that those might have been naked pictures of Hunter Biden.
Don't handle those.
So I understand why they wouldn't necessarily think that was relevant information, and it's somebody's private dick pics. I mean, I don't know.
But the point is, well, you and I don't have channels to get these things to handle like this.
Right.
And here's the most powerful people in the world, and they have channels to just get stuff. Hey, Twitter, we don't like it.
Yeah. Push this one down. Let's ban this person. I mean, there are people who have accounts that are suspended, and, a lot of them were on the right for sure, but a lot of them were on the left also. And we see this happening, with people who are speaking out about some of the atrocities that are happening on the Ukrainian side of the Ukraine-Russian war. We see it happening with people who had questions about COVID, about the lab leak theory, about, I mean, we've had things suppressed when we've said wear masks. It can't be vaccine only, and we're suppressed, right? So I think it's really dangerous to shut down free speech. I mean, if it's not, if you disagree with what somebody says, that's a great opportunity to combat it with facts.
And instead of that, what we got, no matter what you think of Taibbi as a journalist, like nothing he did was, I mean, who would not reveal the information he was given?
Yeah, of course.
So the talking points came out in sync against him by all of the mainstream typical subjects. I mean, you got Mehdi Hassan, who sometimes I like. I mean,
Yeah.
he's one of the few guys that on his show, since he's not actually on MSNBC,
right,
he's allowed to on his show speak the truth once in a while, and he'll call out worker rights and things like that. But this was the main thread. It was all about PR. So he says, imagine volunteering to do online PR work for the world's richest man on a Friday night in service of nakedly and cynically right-wing narratives, and then pretending you're speaking truth to power. Speaking of Taibbi. And you want to take over?
Yeah. And so then there was just like a litany, like one after another of these sort of blue checks. Imagine throwing it all away to do PR work for the richest person in the world, humiliating shit. Matt Taibbi always was and still remains a fraud. I mean, I don't even know what this person is talking about and why he thinks he's a fraud. Doing PR for the richest person in the world should come as no surprise. Here we go. Editors are great, not just because they make your work sharper, but because you can ask them things like, hey, should I be doing PR work for the richest man on the planet? And they'll say, nah. And here's somebody who compiled a bunch of these. When you get the Biden team's memo on what to say about Matt Taibbi, and every single one of these, a couple of which we read out loud, say the same thing. Doing PR for the richest man alive.
PR. That's
PR for the richest man. Yeah. And I didn't find, first of all, Elon Musk wasn't head of Twitter when that was happening. And I don't see how you can look at that and not think it's a story that, because what was actually on that laptop was showing Hunter Biden leveraging his position as the son of the vice president at the time, to gain, to secure a good position at Burisma, making $50,000 a year, to trade on his father's name, to introduce people who wanted to sort of influence peddle, right? Like to gain access to his dad. I mean, that was the story, was that the vice president's son was using the fact that his father was the second most powerful person in some way in the world to gain access to that, right? So that is a story, and it's gross. And so then when you point that out, people are like, well, talk to me when he gets $2 billion from Saudi Arabia, like Jared Kushner, which is also disgusting. But like, if we're always going to be like, oh, well, he only raped one person and he raped 5 and he did 5 wars, like corruption needs to be called out.
Well, and what does it say about the media that they just run with it? It could be Russian. Like that is the opposite of journalism. There's no connection to Russia on this thing.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's how the whole thing started. Yeah. So I was disappointed to see how many people are so quick to throw someone who's done some really fantastic work calling out, whether it's the big banks and the financial crisis or the way our corporate media operates or any number of stories that Matt Taibbi has covered, BLM, I mean, he's really, I think an upstanding journalist. And I don't even understand how this was doing PR for Elon Musk. I don't understand how it was twisted into that.
Well, they said that people pushed back and are saying that because to release this information, he, along with the actual biologist, Barry Weiss.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah.
So this information was given to him and Barry Weiss, and we think the terms were that he had to put it out in public on Twitter so that it wasn't behind a paywall like Patreon or something, because I guess
Right.
Matt Taibbi
With his
releases a lot of
Substack.
his Substack. So he releases a lot of his stuff early to people who are paying members or something. But we don't know. But there is another interesting piece developing today, which is that James Baker, famously behind a lot of the Russiagate for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Wait, I'm taking this off. Okay, so just to catch everyone up, a former FBI official who was deeply involved in Russiagate and who was then planted at Twitter was discovered to have combed through the Twitter files without telling Elon Musk before they were released to Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss. Can't make this up. I mean,
FBI guy looks
yeah.
at all the files before they go to journalists.
Can't quite believe what I'm reading, so let's go slow. The FBI's former attorney was hired by previous Twitter management and was the one vetting the files to be given to Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi that might reveal FBI collusion. And new owner Elon Musk wasn't told any of this.
And here's, just so you know, Twitter's former top attorney, James Baker, was formerly an FBI attorney who passed on fake dirt from the Hillary campaign's operatives in 2016. Alleging a secret online portal from Russia's Alpha Bank to Trump, now attempted to shape the Twitter files. So here's this guy who did Hillary PR, and somehow he's in such a high position at Twitter that he gets this stuff before it goes from Twitter to journalists.
Yeah. And I mean, I know some of the people, and I see people responding that some of the people we've just put up there are kind of right wing. I don't even know that last person. But I do think that's problematic. Like, and it's problematic when it's Trump in power. And by the way, like, and I don't know why that wasn't released yet. And I'm sure that feeds into people saying that, Taibbi's doing PR for right wingers now. But the Trump administration was also asking and receiving some favors. Of course, Twitter and big tech is more aligned with the Democratic Party. So, but to me, this is all troubling, right? Like you don't want people in power influencing what we get to see in what's been called the public square, which I think it really is. I mean, honestly, if you were watching regular mainstream media, you wouldn't know about a lot of the stuff that I find out on Twitter about, COVID surging or what doctors, epidemiologists are saying about it. What is, happening between Russia and Ukraine. You'd only get the talking points that are given to us, but your choices are either CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times, or Fox, which I'm not watching, right? So like, I've really appreciated the independent journalists on Twitter who I can go to see a possible other more honest perspective.
Absolutely. What it comes down to is whether you're left or right, and Twitter is I mean, the media in general tends to be more left leaning as far as social issues, liberal.
Right, yeah.
But the economic issues, they're all against us, the working class people.
That's right.
So if you allow both these groups that are both against us to phone things into Twitter to shape narratives, it's really harmful, and especially when people consider Twitter the public forum.
Right.
So it's almost worse when you have, if you have Musk here saying he's gonna, you're pushing this free speech narrative, and you're very not free speech. That's not going to work. But
yeah, and I mean, as people are pointing out, I think Garland Nixon and somebody else who's on the left was just their account was suspended in the past few days, right? So I mean, I don't think anybody here would ever accuse Elon Musk of being a free speech person. He's definitely, the people he platforms are, the fact that he finally shut down Kanye West with his, what did he do? A swastika inside a Star of David or something.
I mean, I think it was that Hitler wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
More or less. Whole rant on that.
Even that, I have to say, and I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, I just think banning somebody for saying that is not the way to go. I would just rather have everyone know this guy is losing his mind. He is spewing hate speech, and I'm not interested in listening to Kanye West instead of just banning or shutting down somebody's account. But that's me. I mean, I think actually Trump became more appealing when he was kicked off of Twitter to a lot of people. I think they were somehow allowed to forget what a like batshit crazy person he is because they didn't hear from him as much. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. Anyway. So that was the Twitter files. Do we have anything else to say about the Twitter files?
Nah, I mean, there's a lot of dumb stuff going on with Musk. He's fired so many Twitter workers accidentally that they created an accidental termination category to re-onboard employees.
I mean, he's a disaster. He's a horrible person.
Yeah, just a reminder that wealth does not mean intelligence or that you've earned it or anything. So.
Yeah. Definitely not. Yeah, let's get a shot in this. What's happening?
Yeah, baby.
Gotta kill that cold.
Speaking of, that's a little cheery.
I know, but that actually does sound exactly like what we should, how we should be hailing what's happening right now. Don't know if anybody's seen the map recently, but it's not looking good. That's for the flu. Purple is very high and bad.
I like how their very top option is just very high. Like, doesn't it seem like it should be like, holy shit or something? Like, you know, like something scarier than just, it's very high.
Very high.
That's as high as you can go. It's very high.
Very high. Put a mask on. People, you know, we're filling up the hospitals again. In LA, they are really talking about putting, you know, masking up again, making masks. They're never going to make masks mandatory. You know, the lie that was perpetrated was when they started taking the suggestion away and saying, let's not do masks now. So when we really need it, we'll bring it back and people will trust us. Yeah. We knew that what that meant was it's never coming back. You are on your own.
Well, I just was watching the local news and they're in Sacramento on the verge. Well, they did just reinstitute mask mandates for certain locations. So
in Sacramento?
Yeah.
Huh. I don't think we've done that in LA yet. I wonder if it's happening anywhere else.
It's like high risk public places, which was weird because I'm like, is that hospitals? Can you just say hospitals? Is that like, you know, can we have mask mandates in hospitals? Like, how crazy is it that we don't have mask mandates?
I cannot tell you the number of people I've seen who say that they go in for different procedures and no one's wearing masks in the hospital, or they're wearing surgical masks. Yeah, it's pretty frightening.
But the CDC is finally coming and turning around a little bit. I mean, they realize their messaging. Yeah, it's awful, but they're encouraging people to wear masks over the holidays.
Yeah, and I just, you know, I bought, because we were having family come in, I bought a ton of rapid tests because everyone's flying here and there's kids and my mother who's older and kids who haven't gotten as many booster shots and they're all going to be on planes. And so I got but you know, they're expensive. And not only are they expensive, the ones that I got 2 batches of them that I just ordered and they expire in January. And I have other ones that don't expire until June of next year. So like basically when I went to order them, they looked at the ones that were about to expire and sent them off. And if you go to complain, there's nobody there to talk to. So anyway,
crazy.
Yes. So the U.S. has learned to live with COVID, not by effectively addressing the problem, but through a broad, deliberate effort to erode empathy, break solidarity, desensitize the public to mass illness and mass death, and inculcate a sense of hopelessness and futility. And that is, I mean, that is the project.
Right. And so look at this headline. I mean, this is what scientists are talking about COVID right now, that the new variant, the treatments don't work. A lot of the treatments don't work. And you're not hearing that on the news at all. Like that, the CDC director should be encouraging the masking and whatnot by pointing out that these new things, I mean, there's nothing in that statement from the CDC saying, oh, some of these new variants, the vaccine doesn't work or, you know, won't. the treatments won't work, they should be honest, and that there's no signs of there are no signs of honesty.
No, and then some people, I mean, who was the oh God, now I can't remember his name, Prashad, who was ostensibly on the left, but he has become like a total anti-science guy, like COVID minimalist, who is making fun of people for trying to filter the air. I mean, it's just insane. Like, you're made fun of for wearing a mask, for getting the vaccine, for wanting to isolate, for I only will eat outside if we go to a restaurant. Like, everything has sort of like concerted effort to make you feel like if you want to try not to get COVID, yeah, that you're like a delicate little snowflake and everyone's going to get it. And it's like, God, we're all going to die too, but you try to put that off as long as possible.
And I mean, deaths are only one metric, but I mean, if you look at the deaths by vaccination status, this whole narrative that vaccines are all that you need, it's just fallen completely apart because
so if you can, it's hard to see if in September of 21, this is deaths by vaccination status. 77% of the people who were dying that month or who died that month were unvaccinated. It keeps going lower and lower. And part of that is a function, of course, of more people getting vaccinated and getting boosted. But in August, 58% of the people who died were vaccinated. And that is not to say, just in case we're going to be misinterpreted, Pat and I are both vaccinated and boosted. I mean, I think I have 5 shots in me now, as is my husband, as are my kids. I'm pro-vaccine.
It's just one tool.
It's one tool. And it's the last line of defense, right? If you need that vaccine to kick in, it's because you are inhaling the virus. So it means that you haven't isolated, you're not wearing a mask, you haven't filtered or cleaned the air. So that's your last line of defense. You want to stop it before, you want to prevent it from getting inside of your body. Anyway, I think if more people knew what percentage of the deaths were vaccinated and boosted, I think more people would wear masks, right?
And I mean, I think if people just were told the realities of long COVID, what's going on with that, they're allowed to hide behind this fog if we don't understand it. Right. But that's where doctors should be coming out in mass and saying, well, we know what's happening to people. We may not understand what the mechanisms causing it, but the more times you get COVID, the more your immune system's damaged. So kids are getting RSV and the flu, and this triple-demic isn't really, they try to say it's immunity debt because kids have been masked so long. They were so pure and unaffected by disease that now that they have no protections. Well, that's not how science works. Science never thought that before. They never thought, expose everybody to disease so that it won't be bad the second time.
Right. Right. And kids who, like, the rates are just as high in places where there were no mask mandates as where there weren't. Kids who are babies are getting it, who don't have an immunity deficiency. They're getting it at higher rates than they used to. So, I mean, that whole idea of immunity debt was created in 2021. I mean, they've shown, like, nobody ever talked about immunity debt before that.
Wasn't a thing, and now it's just. And now you've got doctors on. I watch them on local TV saying it. I watch them on national TV, CNN, MSNBC, coming out and acting like it's just a fact that kids weren't exposed to disease because they wore these masks for so long.
Yeah.
And this is the economic, propaganda we're getting.
And that's exactly. People still afraid of catching COVID-19 are costing the U.S. economy billions of dollars. I mean, imagine that headline. It's really gross. And that is how they think. Get back to work. Don't worry about having COVID. Don't worry about long COVID. Get back to work. And it's the whole thing that they've been saying about China trying to, because I think if they had let it rip the way we did, they would have lost 7 million people, right? Yeah. And I think they're in like 5,000 or 6,000. Yes, there are problems with the way they've done it. I think they haven't encouraged vaccines, actually. Even if the low rate that we have, they haven't done that. But
Yeah,
I
something
mean,
like half their elderly people aren't vaccinated.
yeah.
It's really high. But
Yeah. So, I mean, they've certainly made mistakes, but trying to keep people alive uh, is actually a good thing. I mean, I can't believe I even have to say that. It's like Nazis are bad, keeping people alive is good. Like, what is going on? But anyway, it does all come back to just get people back to work.
well, they're really pushing that narrative. I mean,
Yeah.
they still are. They're doing everything they can to not. I mean, I predicted, and I think most people knew, once we got past the election, there'd be a little more honesty about COVID because, it does save lives when you tell the truth about COVID. But
Right.
they couldn't do it before the midterms because that would be damaging to Democrats.
Right.
And so we're getting more truth out now. But
Yeah.
all this should have started. I mean, should have started 2 years ago. But like
When the
the
Believe
real
Science Administration came into power.
pressing panic, raise the alarms when kids started getting RSV and the flu. That's when this should have all been front and center on the press, and it's like 6 months late at least.
Yeah.
And here are these guys. This is an article I found, or somebody tweeted it, and I read it, so I say I found it.
He's the Christopher Columbus of
I mean, I discovered articles that this is the beginning of the year. He's saying this is the year COVID pandemic will end. Driven by the inexorable, inevitable spread of the Omicron variant and the use of vaccines, the global population will generate immunity to this virus. And it just keeps going on and on with some nonsense. But
those voices were amplified because they were helping capital keep going. Yeah.
They're pushing the narrative that all our slave drivers want,
Yeah.
Go to work.
Get back to work, get infected,
whatever.
You'll build that immunity, go. And we're finding, of course, it's just the same, the opposite of that. And just, did you already show this? Long COVID may be the next public health disaster with a $3.7 trillion economic impact, rivaling the Great Recession. So,
and I would go so far as to say it's more than maybe, like it's built into it. If we don't change our health system, which is why it's especially gross that we're not pushing harder right now for forcing Medicare for all. Yeah. I mean, you've got too many frontline teachers you're not going to have teachers. You're not going to have frontline workers.
Yeah, you're not going to, I mean, there was a shortage on teachers, on bus drivers, on frontline workers. And, one of the most disgusting things among many that the Biden administration has done is they stopped testing and treating people for free who aren't insured. So the people who need that the most, who earn the least, who aren't insured, have to pay to test and treat, don't get sick days, don't get paid sick leave, right? I mean, so don't get time off in case you get sick from getting the shot, which a lot of people, it took a day or two to recover, right? Like, so they have done nothing to help us all stay safe.
We're doomed. Let's spin the wheel.
Okay, good choice. We need a timeline cleanse.
Yeah, baby.
We can force them. Well, that works.
Well, what are the odds that when we have 5 shots there with my pretty little glass?
This is going to be a test for my man flu.
It's going to kill it. You're going to love it.
It's a baby
shot. It's going to kill your cold.
Well, it probably isn't COVID because I can smell my whiskey.
Look at that. Although, in the new ones, they say
the new ones,
the
new variants, it's not smell so much.
Cheers, everybody.
All right. That might be better. That might have worked.
Yeah, did it work?
I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
All right, let's do it. Spin it.
Yeah, baby.
Okay. With one shot, cured what ails you. Think of what 2 shots. 2 shots is going to be like immunity. What's the opposite of immunity? Debt.
Booster. It's a booster.
Immunity. Yeah, it's your booster. Exactly. Ready?
So wait, how often are we supposed to get a booster now? Because the administration was pushing like, oh, from now on it'll just be a year, but that's the science is not a year.
No, there's no way it's going to be. They said once a year, but I mean, embarrassed to say how many shots I've already had this year. Wait, should we do this? Should we do
Let's
it?
do these
Cheers.
shots.
They haven't they haven't told
Even
us
my
yet when
baby
we're
shot.
supposed to get the
Oh,
next one.
We don't know. Okay.
Yeah, we don't know.
I did get the bivalent, so I got that.
Yeah, baby.
Well, we started with the Putin did it thing because I saw this unbelievable report that Representative Adam Smith says calls for Ukraine aid oversight are Russian propaganda. So asking for oversight in the money, the weapons that we send is somehow going to be blamed on Putin. Then the next thing, a day later, we saw from the UK that nurses must drop their pay demands to send a clear message to Putin, one of the cabinet ministers says. So it was really just, we were kind of laughing about like the crazy anti-Putin propaganda. But then I forgot that the Time Magazine Person of the Year was going to come out, and look at who's on the cover.
This guy.
Zelensky.
Person of the Year, the guy who was,
Ukraine.
Before the war started, Ukraine was universally seen as an incredibly corrupt country.
The most corrupt country in Europe.
The most corrupt country in Europe. He was despised because he was revealed in the Panama Papers to be corrupt as fuck. Whatever.
Pandora Papers. I always have to correct you on that. No fake news here, fellas.
God damn it.
Yeah. I mean, came in on a platform of peace and anti-corruption, and then we see that he's stashing millions of dollars in wherever that Pandora paper reveal was. I think I don't know exactly where. I'm not going to say it. And then, but a few days before that, talking about propaganda, the Financial Times made him their person of the year. And this is the guy who, if you all remember, a couple months ago, ratified law 5371, which prohibits workers from being able to bargain, and trade unions can't protect them. So I think that affected 73%, I think I read, of their labor force now has no right to bargain, no right to unionize. This is the great beacon of democracy. And then yesterday, go ahead.
Well, no, weren't they doing forced military service, like not just a draft, but like you could not
conscription? Yeah, and I think men weren't allowed to leave the country. I think you have to. Yeah. I think they were having to pay like $25,000, like forced military conscription, and prohibited. And oh my goodness, from leaving the country.
We don't have articles about it, but there was also a lot of propaganda about, because they were trying to build them up as the little guy, as a Rocky, David versus Goliath,
right?
Rocky, who's the Russian guy? I don't even remember Rocky, but they ran a lot of stories about how all these women are fighting in the army with them, and there are some women, but mostly they're pretty sexist against women, and there are not that many women in the army.
Yeah.
So it was an overblown story as propaganda to say, oh, the little guy, we're all together in this.
Well, and we saw at the beginning of the war,
more Nazis than women by far.
By far. And I mean, banning opposition parties that were all on the left, now banning the Orthodox Church, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. And there was one other thing. Oh, media companies, you're not allowed to speak Russian. I mean, this is not, we know, and we've talked about it, that what this really is obviously they're using the US and NATO, using Ukraine to weaken Russia, but also as Zelensky gets rid of protections for his workers, what that's doing is making it much easier to destroy the country and sell it off for parts for investors who are going to come in, swoop in with this, disaster capitalism and buy up this country. Yep. So I would not call him, in glowing terms at least, the man of the year, person of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, waiting. I have COVID brain fog.
I'm sorry.
Wait on me.
The other thing though, is talking about propaganda was once a week I'll venture onto Facebook, just check in and see what people are doing over there. And a friend of mine who, I haven't seen him in years, but he is a comedian, and he wrote something after Dave Chappelle went on Saturday Night Live saying that he thought that he was really funny. And I don't know if you guys remember, but it was right after the beginning of the very public Kanye meltdown where he said something about Jews owning the media. And Dave Chappelle kind of did a riff on it. And whether you think it's funny or not, whatever, but this guy wrote that he thought he was funny. And somebody wrote to him and said, "You are an anti-Semite, and I'm going to make it my business to make sure that you don't get to do stand-up anywhere." And she then, this person whose name I didn't recognize, Allison Gill, wrote on Twitter, "Hey, Comedy Store in Laguna Beach. Hey, Comedy Store," tagged all these different comedy stores and said, "Don't hire this guy because he's an anti-Semite." And then I realized Allison Gill is Mueller, she wrote. That account, that good lib account, that good propagandist lib account.
There she is.
There she is. She's in that picture somewhere. And, this should be our next caption contest. I need all these people identified in here.
I know we got Brooklyn Dad back there.
Yeah, we got Brooklyn Dad back there with his arm up. We got Jeff Tiedrick. Is that his name?
Yep, in the middle with gray hair.
Yeah. And I kind of recognize some of the other people, but the caption that she wrote is "Policy briefing at the White House, no biggie." So, all of these people, when you see these sort of concerted efforts where everybody phrases things the exact same way on Twitter, and you see, as we did with the anti-Matt Taibbi stuff, they get talking points. They're invited to the White House. They're told, remember there were even like TikTok influencers who were invited to the White House.
They were openly telling everybody that, like, hey, we brought all these TikTok influencers in to tell them how to get our message out. Like, what?
Yeah. So I would love to know the other people in that picture. I don't know who they all are, but because I didn't know Mueller, she wrote, because her, her avatar, look at me. Hello, fellow
AVI.
kids. AVI.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like a sleuth. I didn't know her real name. I'm not doxing her because she wrote that and she put it all together for me. But I do think it's interesting that that's happening so obviously with no shame.
Yeah. We see all these talking points around on Twitter, and that brings me to Rob Reiner, who we're going to get Trump. We're finally going to get him.
TikTok.
And maybe they will. Trump org found guilty of tax fraud. This is just the beginning. This is like a Maddow episode. Remember how many people were tuned into Maddow?
Oh my God.
It was all going to fall tomorrow. We got breaking news, and she'd make you wait like 58 minutes and then finally get her thing out. And you're like, it's not going to break them. But
yeah, exactly. But or like those long threads. It was like, this is how Hillary could still become president. Game theory, and then they go through the whole thing. Anyway, listen, I think Trump is scum of the earth. We've known that since the 80s, right? We know that he's corrupt. We know he's in business with the mafia, that everything's transactional for him. He will take money from the most repulsive, disgusting people in the world. That's what they should get him on, not the stupid things that they keep trying to tie him up with. Although it looks like now the New York, the Southern District is actually coming up with some real good stuff. But
yeah, look, if he get him on stuff, but Democrats were bombarded every day about all this corruption that was just regular run-of-the-mill corruption that was not special.
Right.
He's vile, and especially he's an especially bad businessman who benefited from corrupt practices. So it should have been easy to take him down, but he's a perfect case of why there's no justice in this world.
Yeah. Well, because the reason they go after him for that corruption is because most of them are guilty of it too, right?
Yeah, but they sold the public this idea that every day we got them.
Yeah.
Like
TikTok. Here's how Hillary could still be president. Okay.
I think we need a timeline cleanse, please.
Yeah, baby.
There we go.
Oh, look at you. Called it. I think that wheel spin is rigged.
Which one do you want to go with?
I don't know. We got a bunch of fun ones.
I think we should go with the Sanford Sun. What do you think?
All right, let's do it.
Well, Papa, you gonna help me with this garden now?
Son, I did my part. I got us a scarecrow. This is guaranteed to scare away slugs and snails and birds. I didn't know that you entered in that contest.
I didn't only enter into it, I'm gonna win it.
Wrong. That's the first place you can enter that contest because you're not eligible. See, one of the things you have to be is a part of a certain race.
What race?
Human. Like I tell you, forget about that. Bow out. Keep yourself from being embarrassed.
Why should I be embarrassed? I got everything it takes to win that contest. When I was born, my body was blessed by Mother Nature, honey.
And as you got older, it was cursed by Father Time.
Just remember that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Hallelujah!
And you remember when you look in the mirror tonight, the Lord gave you that face and you stuck with it. Just what I needed now, a wino and a rhino.
That's so silly.
Where are we?
All right, well, it brought a smile. I realize we don't need to go back to it, but Claire Daly did give a really good speech on Ukraine. I know that wasn't really what we were doing, but anytime I can highlight her, I want to, but we can get to it another time. She's awesome, though. I love her. All right, we going?
Oh, yeah, we got to go.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, Pat. We are going to murder your cold. We're not just killing it. We are going to hack it to death.
Well, you can't see how small my shots are. They're small.
Nobody's judging you. Cheers.
Oh, come on. There's a lot of motion in the ocean in my shots or something. I don't know. Oh, look at that. They're gone.
Oh, all right. Getting to business. Okay.
Yeah, baby.
I mean, I just honestly can't get past what has just happened. Get in, loser. We're going scabbing. We all know what happened last week when Biden and the Democrats joined forces with Republicans and forced workers back to work against their will, which was just so vile. I kind of can't believe that they got away with it. And, I know a lot of us have been like, go strike anyway, or, quit or whatever, because it's so easy to say that, from behind your computer. And while I absolutely support everybody and what they might want to do or how but you put in a certain number of years and you end up being able to retire with certain, entitlements, right? And if they quit or if they do something that's now been deemed illegal, they can be penalized. So all of this excruciating work would then be for naught. And so, I mean, which is exactly why the government just sided with the robber barons. I mean, it's just so vile.
Yeah, I think we should show the clip from the lever. I thought that was really
Okay.
good. You found that, and we had like 3 clips, but this one sums up a lot of the stuff about this issue and
All right.
the propaganda that we see about it too.
We have a pro-labor president who loves to pat himself on the back for that.
I intend to be the most pro-union president.
And when the going got tough, he turned his back on the people he's supposed to be looking out for.
Joe Biden is very serious about being probably the most pro-labor president we have ever had.
They're going with the tentative agreement, completely silencing the voice of all of these workers.
What was negotiated was so much better than anything they ever had.
We've heard from multiple union workers who feel like the Biden administration has let them down.
Unfortunately, the most labor-friendly president, quote unquote, we've ever had, basically has opted to side with the Class 1 rail carriers.
It's not an easy call, but I think we have to do it.
I'm really disappointed.
It is very disappointing and disturbing.
You voted for President Biden, but now you say you feel like he's turned his back on you.
I've been trying to get paid leave, not just for rail workers, for everybody. But that other team, they're called the Republicans, they voted against it.
I get home from being gone for 55 hours, and then I'm back on a train in 12 hours.
There are no paid sick days in this national agreement, and that's a problem for our members.
Union guy Joe Biden, who is now a union buster, strike breaker.
And again, continuing to press the case for paid leave for every single American in every single job in this country.
What does it mean to press the case if you're not willing to like actually go to these billionaires and say, how on earth can you sleep at night not letting your railway workers have paid sick leave?
When the leaders we vote in who are supposed to support us turn their back on us, the system's broken.
I've supported paid sick leave for a long time.
Biden needs to stand by us moving forward to get this in another way.
Got it. So vile. And look at Jake Tapper doing a little bit of a journalism. Gotta love it when somebody calls out Pete. That disgusting.
He did, but then he let
funny
Pete talk
person.
for like 5 minutes without pushing back, but at least he gave him a little bit of shit.
He gave him a little bit. Yeah, and listen, we all know he could do it by executive order. We also know that, or executive action, you know, when Biden wants to do something like, you know, send billions of dollars and weapons to Ukraine, or tell us that he'd veto Medicare for all, or decide that the parliamentarian is more important than the $15 minimum wage that he ran, like whatever. He does exactly what he wants to do, which is exactly what his billionaire donors want him to do. It is vile.
So of course they sent out all the trolls to Twitter, and here's the same message being pushed out by 4 different accounts that they're a train driver.
Same language. Yeah. Cards on the table. I'm a train driver, which I think somebody who actually does work on the railways, like I've never heard somebody talk about himself like that or herself. I'm a train driver. I'm on $75K a year plus overtime. I left RMT in the summer. This is an orchestrated coup by militant unions and the left wing media to bring down a democratically elected government. For the record, I was awarded an 8.5% pay rise in May. You know, so they all come out to try to basically run cover for the CEOs to avert a strike, which they didn't even have to anyway, because the government just came in and did exactly what the CEOs knew would happen, which was make it illegal to strike and force workers back. And, you know, they could have done the same vote and made that 7-day sick leave, paid sick leave, part of the bill that everybody would have voted for.
If you're saying you're the most pro-union guy, why wouldn't you just throw some sick days on there and force some sick days? The public would have your back 1,000% on 7 days of sick leave.
That's right.
Especially a lot of these workers are frontline people who had some of the highest COVID rates. There are a lot of COVID
Yeah.
for these people.
Yeah. I mean, and then to see, and this is sort of a different conversation on some level, but once again, the squad, apart from Rashida Tlaib, voting for that bill to force those workers back to basically make it illegal to strike. All but one of the squad crossed the picket line, voting with the Dem Republican majority to break rail workers' strike. A socialist can't be a strike breaker. This should result in expulsion from the DSA. Failing that, the squad's betrayal of workers becomes DSA's betrayal. So that's from, I love her, Shama Swan, calling them out because,
oops.
Yep, that is, I don't even understand. And then AOC tried to sort of dissemble and say, oh no, well, we were actually doing what the workers wanted us to do, what the unions wanted us to do by voting to break the strike, which was revealed later that I think it was like a food workers union in her local area. It had nothing to do with the rail workers. But I do wonder where the accountability will ever come from if these squad members aren't fighting for Medicare for all, sending money to the Iron Dome, sending more money to Ukraine and the military budget, funding the Capitol Police, voting to send workers against their will back to work, breaking a strike. Like, what is the squad?
I mean, this breaks down the whole narrative of them joining striking workers. That's been their appeal, is that these, the squad is supposed to be out there on the picket lines with everybody.
Yeah.
And here they are voting against what the workers actually want.
Yep.
And forcing, look, they didn't have to vote for it. They could have voted against it. They could have stayed away from the vote. But to vote for it is forcing unions to have less power. It is a precedent that is absolutely devastating to unions. And
yeah. And they already had to go through more hoops than other unions because of, I think, railway, because they know that if the railway workers go on strike, that
it's essential.
Yeah. But if it's essential, then you treat them like human beings, right? And instead, so there's
essential but no sick days.
Essential but what? But no sick days.
Sick
right.
days. No
yeah. So I think this is happening today, or it happened at Grand Central Station. There was a support for railway workers. And just so everyone knows, railway workers have no sick days. Railroad companies in recent years laid off 45,000 workers, which is why they have this precision schedule rail worker, which is they fired everybody and forced people. It's like just-in-time production where they have such a bare bone labor force, which is why they can't give people sick days. Railroad companies in the first 3 quarters of this year made $21 billion in profit. They, since 2010, have handed out over $200 billion in stock buybacks and dividends. The railroad workers demand 7 sick days, and the cost of that would be $320 million versus the $200 billion in stock buybacks that they give to their shareholders. This is the most disgusting. President Biden invoked the Railway Labor Act of 1926 to force railroad workers back to work with no sick days to avoid a nationwide strike, instead of forcing the railroad companies to provide 7 sick days. So basically taking them back a century to working conditions that are abominable.
And it's not just our opinion. More than 500 labor historians condemned Biden, his intervention.
I mean,
I'm an art historian, so that's 501. Technically, it's my degree, but
and the thing is, you look at not that it should matter, but the country, it polls well to support workers' rights as opposed to economic growth, because we all know what that means. And when they talk about an economic shutdown or bringing this country to its knees, the practices of the railway CEOs are already hurting this country. It's part of why we have the supply chain problem. It's part of why prices are skyrocketing. That already exists right now. So if you want to fix it, you don't do it by caving to them, giving them all their demands, and allowing them to abuse their workers. I mean, just a disgusting display by the Democrats. Completely disgusting.
And they get away with it on some level because of the propaganda on how this stuff is framed. The media frames it as the workers are going to prevent, and the workers are going to mess up the economy, not the companies not giving sick days to their workers. I mean, you could frame it either way.
Yeah.
Frame it as the companies that are so grinchy that they're not going to give frontline workers during COVID a day off.
Yeah.
You know, and so you could frame it that way on the media. Biden could have come out and said, we're going to force you guys to take a deal for 7 sick days.
Absolutely, he could have done that. There is just no, like, he 100% could have done that. And instead, it's another example of disciplining labor, which is what it's really all about, more than the money it would take to pay for those sick days, because it's such a small percentage of the profits that they made.
It's nothing. I mean,
it is all about disciplining labor. It is really vile.
Here's a little clip on the framing.
So, Melanie, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she is moving forward with this. The Senate is expected to have the votes. The president initially was reluctant to step in, but yet here we are. How fast will this happen now?
Well, that really depends. We could see a vote in the House on a bill to codify this agreement as soon as this week. Then it would move to the Senate, where it's a little less clear as far as timing. We are told that there are enough votes to overcome the Senate filibuster, but the way the Senate works is you need agreement from every single senator in order to move quickly. And right now, all eyes are on Senator Bernie Sanders. He is someone who was pushing for more paid sick leave in the negotiations. And it's just a reminder of what was and was not included in this deal. There was an agreement to include a 24% raise by 2023 and a cap on healthcare premiums. But what was not included was 15 days of paid sick leave. That is something that unions wanted. That is why 4 unions rejected it. They had until December 9th to ratify this agreement. So now it's up to Congress. This is something Biden is now putting on Congress. It is a politically last resort for him, though. He did not want to have to force this deal on unions and workers, especially since he has been a pro-labor champion. But he wanted to avoid what many experts are saying would be an economic catastrophe, especially right before the holidays. A rail shutdown or strike would disrupt supply chains, it would disrupt commuter rail, and it also could cost the economy $1 billion within the first week. So it's something that all sides are looking to avoid right now, and Capitol Hill will be the next move. Jim, Sienna.
Pro-labor. By the way, you could have just done nothing. Oh.
Yeah. No,
sorry.
That wasn't the clip I thought I was showing, but that's all right. But it's the same thing. You know, they don't call out if
he didn't want to. He's so pro-labor.
Yeah, he's backed into a corner. Christmas is going to come to an end if you don't do this.
Which is the whole point of threatening to strike. And again, because rail workers fall under a different category, they had to go through, it's like 2 years of, meetings and votes and negotiations to get to this point where they were finally going to strike. Then it was pushed back to after the midterms, right? But the truth is, they could have just gone on strike and Biden could have done nothing, and the CEOs would have had to come to the table and meet their workers with,
and then the
days.
public pressure would be on them tremendously because everybody understands the no sick days thing is ridiculous.
Right. And
they would
instead,
have lost this.
They would have, and instead the CEOs knew from the onset that they would get bailed out by the government, right? That they would never come to a strike. So then there's no incentive for them actually to negotiate with their workers.
And I mean, think back 6 months ago when Biden claimed this strike was averted, and the press all gave him credit for ending this strike because of this deal that is now forced on them, which was rejected at the time, but the media presented it to the public as him negotiating a great deal that everyone agreed with.
Crisis averted. Joe, what was it? Dark Brandon memes all over from, the propagandists, the DNC propagandists. And, they say four unions voted against it. And I think there's a total of 12. But so it makes it sound like it was a minority. But I think those 4 unions represent the large percentage of workers.
Yeah.
So a majority of them. So even that is sort of misleading,
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we should end on a timeline cleanse. So
I agree.
Let's spin the wheel.
All right. Okay. Where's it gonna be? But which timeline? What? I can't believe it. And also there was no noise. Which is your timeline cleanse? I'll let you choose it since you're not feeling well.
What's your bowling one? I didn't see the bowling one.
No, that's you. That was
me?
you last week. Yeah.
Bowling?
We never showed it. Yeah.
Did we play it? Well, let's show this one first, then maybe we'll show the bowling one.
Oh, this is how they come up with their headlines. Meet Venezuela's transgender ketamine dealers. How corporate media comes up with headlines, just throwing dildos at whiteboards. All right, what's a good one?
Wait, the bowling? I don't even know what the bowling is. I have to watch it. Now I have to watch it. I'm like, if I pick this, I'm sorry. I don't remember.
All right, let's do.
Hey, kid, would you like some drugs? The first one is free.
Want to check out my van?
What?
I got some candy.
Hey, kid, want to join our gang and spray paint under a bridge?
No! Bug off, man. I'm going roller skating. I want to be addicted to roller skating, not crack. Because we roller skate today, we will go to college tomorrow. Prison is full of people that have never roller skated.
I'm Brad Armstrong, owner of Roller Kingdom in Reno, Nevada, keeping your kids off the streets since 1999.
I say no to drugs. I say no to gangs.
I say no to unplanned pregnancy.
I say no to meth. I say no to reefer. I say yes to roller skating.
Man, this Roller Kingdom is really putting us out of business.
You said it, man. This deal sucks.
But you know what? Maybe we should give up this life of crime and start roller skating!
Okay, I don't know what You're muted. No, you're not now.
That was all you. That was funny. That was you from last week. You don't remember?
I forgot all about that. I don't even smoke pot.
For simpler times. Say no to meth. Yeah. Well, if only we could all go rollerblading and they could all disappear. I don't know, Pat. Leave us with some good words of wisdom today. It's all pretty upsetting right now.
Hey, when you're at your lowest, somebody returns your wallet to the bank like they did.
That's right. You know what? That's a beautiful way. Yes.
Kind people in this world.
There is one kind person in this world. No, I'm kidding. First of all, we are so appreciative to all of you tuning in and keeping us company and drinking through it, whether we have man colds or COVID or just quiet desperation. So thank you all. We will be here next week, and we love you guys. Keep punching up.
Cheers.
Thanks.